Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, you see, I'm awfully glad that you asked, because every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take time to take some live questions from the audience, but we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in. But I want to make sure if you sent in those questions, they get answered properly in a video. So I gather up those unused questions and we address them here on companion videos. Now, today is Thursday, September the 12th. This is actually kind of a double-header one because we didn't get around to doing the companion video yesterday. So today's companion video, double the size, because we're doing the leftover questions from yesterday's show, that's Wednesday's show, and today's show, that's Thursday's show. So let's not waste any time and let's dive right into it. And the first one we're going to get caught up on comes to us from Omar Khalid, who writes, what are your top 5 favorite smart movies? Well, okay, there's 2 problems with your question. Number one, generally speaking, I don't take what are your top 5 or what are your top 10 questions, because you got to sit down and think about that for a while, and I don't keep a lot just off the top of my head. So there's that. But also, I don't know what you mean by smart movies. Like movies with the word smart, like Get Smart and Book Smart? My apologies, Omar. I don't know what it is you're asking specifically, but generally speaking, I don't like to give, maybe just ask, hey, what are some of your favorite this or that? That's a better thing, but I still don't know quite what you mean by smart movies. My apology, my friend. Jim Jam Baru writes, is Joker a comic book movie is equal to is Lion King an animated film? Sort of in some way, because that was a topic that came up the other day that somebody raised, and they asked, look, is Joker even a comic book movie? Because if you take away this, and if you take away that, and if you take away this, then it has nothing to do with the Joker. And my argument to that is, yeah, and if you cut off Khabib's left leg, he's not the greatest fighter in the world. But you don't cut off his leg, it is there. And so, yeah, to me, Joker is absolutely a comic book movie. Ricky Overpowered writes, Chris, who is not here, unfortunately, do you read or watch One Piece thoughts? Well, unfortunately, Chris isn't here right now. Now, what happens is, the John Campea Show used to be like 45 minutes long, and then it was like an hour long, and then it was about an hour and a half long, and then it was 2 hours long, and now it often clocks in about 2.5 hours long. But I can't ask my guests to come in here for 2.5 hours. They have other things they need to do with their day. So usually after about an hour and a half mark, usually around, the show starts at 9 a.m., usually around 10:30, we let those guys skedaddle and get out of here because I can't keep them here that long. So a lot of times people send in questions. One little tip, if you've got a question that's specifically for, say, Robert or Aaron or Chris, the best idea is to get the question posted before the show starts. Because now I normally post the live event on YouTube the night before the show. So usually about 11 o'clock at night, I'll post the live event so it's there and up and people can jump in and start commenting and all that kind of stuff and putting super chats and whatever before the show starts at 9 a.m. the next morning. If you want to make sure, now, no matter when you put in your question, it's going to get answered. But if you want to make sure that either Rob or Aaron or Chris can answer the question, then you need to make sure that question gets in as soon as possible. Because like I said, after an hour and a half, I got to let those guys go. So unfortunately, they're not here. So anyway, Ricky, I hope me giving you an explanation fills in for that a little bit. So there you go. All right, Joseph de Andrea writes, Rob, about to start reading Dune. So excited. Rob loves Dune. He loves that series. And I'm obviously, Denis Villeneuve's in there. Look at the cast he's got. It's based on one of the most prominent and exciting sci-fi stories of all time. It's going to be so exciting. And it's cool. You're going to get a chance to read the books now. Max Quiros writes, have you heard of Weathering with You? Coming out next year by the same director as Your Name. Your and Rob's thoughts on anime movies at the Oscars. So I don't know, is Weathering Your Name an anime movie? I don't know what it is you're asking about, your thoughts on anime movies at the Oscars. Are you asking what would I think about there being an anime category at the Oscars? Is that... Anyway, I'm not really clear. If you're asking what would I think about an anime category at the Oscars, I'd be 1,000% against it. Anime is animation. By the way, I don't like that there's an animated category either. I think that the Academy made up the best animated category so it wouldn't have to deal with the fact that there were like 7 out of 9 years. There was a stretch of about 7 out of 9 years where the number one critically rated films of the year was an animated film. But they would never nominate, or at least hardly ever at the time, they would never nominate animated films for Best Picture. So what they did was they created this participation award called the best animated category, just so like they could pretend like they were recognizing the brilliance in a lot of animated film. So they made up this fake BS category. And don't get me wrong, if I was a filmmaker and I made an animated film, I would love it if I got nominated for a best animated feature. And it's still an Academy Award. But I don't like that it's there, because to me, that's just an excuse for them to not recognize the brilliance of a lot of animated films. So they create this little side category. So if you're asking me what I would think about an anime category, absolutely 1000% against it. Number one, I'm already against the idea of an animated category, period. But there is an animated category. Anime is still an animated category. So that would kind of be my feelings on that personally. But that might not even be what you're asking, so I'm not really sure. Anyway, let's see here. Raj Nikath writes, Kingdom of Heaven director's cut, favorite movie of all time. Ridley Scott cut 45 minutes because of studio. Would have swept at least technical Oscars if left alone. You know what? You're not alone in saying that. There's a lot of people who said that, and it was a lot of years before I finally got around to watching that. And it's a better movie, but you know what it reminds me of? Batman versus Superman. I'm one of the few people that actually quite liked Batman versus Superman. I talked about it a lot. I like Batman versus Superman. I acknowledge it has its problems, but I like Batman versus Superman. I gave it a positive review. I saw it many times. It gave me my best and favorite incarnation of Batman of all time. Anyway. And then they put out the Ultimate Cut or Ultimate Edition, whatever they called it. And a lot of people acted like it was a night and day, like, oh my God, it's a totally different movie. And I watched it and I'm like, well, it has differences. It definitely has differences. I even prefer the Ultimate Edition a little bit over the regular cut, but I never thought it was oh my God, it's so different. It's night and day. I never felt that. I felt, yeah, it adds a couple cool things. Unfortunately, they didn't edit anything out. Like all they did was take a dump truck of additional footage and just dumped it in without like fine tuning the rest of the film to make it fit and flow better, but whatever. And I thought it was a little bit better of a movie, but I never thought it was night and day. And I kind of feel the same way about Kingdom of Heaven. Like I've heard a number of people talk about that. I thought, yeah, this is a little bit of an improvement, but I didn't think it was that much. But you are not alone, dude. You are not alone. I know a lot, including a couple good friends of mine, who just swear by that and absolutely love it. So kudos to you guys. Again, I'm not quite in the same boat, but you are not alone in that thought. A lot of people love that cut a lot better than the original. All right. Anthony Boniski writes, just ordered my Endgame Thanos hot toy. Dude, I just can't. Oh man, I want it so bad. Here's part of my problem. Here's part of the problem I'm having. I don't know if you noticed. Part of the thing, this is only one part of it, besides the fact that I'm cheap. Part of the thing that keeps me from getting the Thanos hot toy is that I've got really nowhere to put it. You know, first of all, these cubbies behind me that I have a lot of my pops in, a hot toy won't fit in there properly. And I just got nowhere to put it right now. So it's like, if I'm going to start investing money in hot toys, which heaven help me if I do, because those things are damn expensive. So I'm always jealous when people start buying a bunch of these cool ass looking hot toys. I want to make sure that if I buy those hot toys, dude, I want them on display. And I really got nowhere to put them right now. But I drool with just a little bit of jealousy, Anthony, every time I hear somebody say they've got this hot toy or this hot toy, particularly the Thanos hot toy. Oh my, I'm very jealous. I'm extremely jealous. All right. James Ward writes, I used to see only 8 to 9 films a year, but with AMC A-List, I've seen over 40 films this year. Also, what's your favorite film this year so far? My favorite film this year so far is Booksmart. And what James is talking about, we talked about the, Regal Unlimited, AMC A-List and stuff like that. How does money get divvied up with the studios? How does it count towards the box office? That was all in the show for the last couple of days, so you can go see that stuff there. But one of my things that I was proposing was that, movie studios get a little bit less money per person that goes to a movie now because of A-List and Regal Unlimited, but because more people are going more often because of A-List and Unlimited, it actually makes up that difference and then some. So like when I use A-List to reserve a ticket at a movie, like I'm going to go see Hustlers tonight. I used the AMC app to book my ticket for Hustlers, and I paid for it with my AMC A-List. My AMC A-List covered it. Whenever you book a ticket using your A-List, AMC counts that as a $9 movie ticket purchase. So they take, they keep 1/3 of that pretend $9, but then they have to send 2/3 of that money. So they have to actually send real money to the movie studios and the distributors. And so it counts as a $9 movie ticket purchase against the box office. And the studios get, 65%, 60%, 66%, whatever, of the $9 movie ticket that you bought. Now, that's a little bit less than they would have got if I paid a full price $14 ticket. But because people like me, and clearly, James, people like you, we go to the movies more often now, the studios and distributors are actually making more money now than they were if you didn't have A-List. You having A-List to the studios mean they make more money. Because you just point out, and I asked the viewers, like, if you have unlimited or A-List, do you find you're going to the theaters more often now? And I'm finding a lot of people like you, James, are saying, yeah, dude, like I'm going like double the amount of time I used to. And that makes all the difference in the world to the movie studios because they're getting a lot more money. They're getting a smaller amount of money each time you go, but you're going more often, and that more than makes up for it. So it's good to hear that you're using it so much, man. I use mine a lot too. All right, TLCAZ writes, normally I would see one movie a month, but with my A-List, I'm seeing 2 a week. That's another great example, TLC. Perfect example of that. And, I told this story the other day, but it came, last week I was going to go see a movie. My buddy Soul had already seen it. But since he has A-List, he's like, yeah, all right, I'll come along. Tonight, too, Soul's coming with me to go see, Ann's out of town, so my buddy Soul's coming with me to go see Hustlers. And he's like, I say, hey, man, are you excited about Hustlers? He goes, I don't know if I'm excited for it. I said, listen, I'm going to go Thursday night. Do you want to go? He's got A-List. Yeah, why not? Whereas if he had to pay like a $15 ticket, he probably wouldn't have gone. But he's got A-List, so yeah, sure, why not? So why not? So we go to more movies, makes more money for the theaters because we're spending money on the concession stand, makes more money for the studios, and we as film fans get to see more movies and pay less money. It's a win, win, win. It's a win for everybody. It's hard to find compromises and hard to find arrangements where everybody wins. Regal, Unlimited, AMC A-List, Alamo Drafthouse, whatever their plan's going to be, we all win. It's a great thing in general. I've been saying for a year now, AMC A-List is the best thing that has ever happened to movie fandom. I really believe that. For those of us who are like hardcore movie fans and we go more than a couple of times a month, it's the best thing that's ever happened. And now Regal's on board with it. It's just great, man. I'm glad you're using yours, TLC. I'm glad you're using yours. All right, Jesse writes, 5 favorites in no order. Deepwater Horizon. See, I went to go see that movie. And honestly, I didn't think the trailers were great for the Mark Wahlberg film. I didn't think the trailers were great. And I think I saw it with Jeremy Johns. Anyway, we went to Paramount, watched it there, and everybody came out going, that was exceptionally good. That's a surprisingly good movie. Anyway, or Brother, We're Out There, I love that. Drive, the good Canadian kid Ryan Gosling. Big Lebowski, of course, classic, and Jurassic Park. A lot of people putting Jurassic Park on their list, man. Anyway, thanks for sharing that, Jesse. Jacob Silvers writes, I love the music you use during your breaks. That is the John Campea Show theme music. I'm glad you like it. I like it too. I'd like to tell you that I composed it and perform it, but I didn't. No, I purchased that. I bought the license to that music, and I purchased that music a long time ago. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't just record my own music and play it. But anyway, yeah, that's what it is. So that's our main theme song. So thank you, Jacob. Sherlock48 writes, I think that Apple's strategy is to eventually bundle the music, TV, magazines, iCloud, etc. services together for around $15 to $20 a month. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because I think what Apple and others have learned is that the consumers respond better to fragmented content. Look, the bundling of completely unrelated things, magazines, Apple TV, the music, the bundling of unrelated things is old media way of doing things, right? The old cable companies are still trying to do it and it's not working. Hey, I still get a call like once a week going, hey, lucky you. We're offering you this special one-time deal that we get every single week. Get cable and a home phone and your internet. You know what? I just want internet. Thank you. I don't need your cable. I don't need your home phone service. If I wanted cable, I'd get cable. If I wanted home phone service, I'd get home phone service. I just want internet. Thanks a lot. And I think that old model way, I think they've realized that the way consumers are now, like, bundle different TV services together, sure. But if I want TV, I don't want to also join the wine club. And I don't also want to join his pants, one new pair of pants a month club. And I don't want gardening service. And I don't want a magazine service. I want TV service. If I want that other stuff, I'll go elsewhere to get it. So I don't see Apple going backwards that way and say, now we're going to bundle our magazines and our this and our that. It's like, I'm here for the TV. And I think that's what they know. Now, they're going to raise their prices. Make no mistake. Them, Disney Plus, these new services coming out at these rock bottom prices, they're going to raise their prices in time. Make no mistake about that. But right now they're trying to get their foot in the door in a very competitive world. The streaming world is now becoming very competitive. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, dude. All right. DJ Titus writes, top 10, Dark Knight, A Walk in the Clouds. That's the first time that one's been mentioned, DJ. Shawshank, always love seeing that. Armageddon. No one else has put that on a list. It's my number one guilty movie. Well, no. My number one guilty movie is the all-time great classic Vanilla Ice film, Cool as Ice. That is my all-time favorite guilty pleasure movie. But right up there is Armageddon. No one else likes Armageddon. I'm glad to see it on your list. Equilibrium, Matrix, Blues Brothers, The Long Kiss Goodnight. A lot of people forget about that film, man. Gina Davis. Anyway, Infinity War and Love Actually. I don't see it. You know what, DJ? You got a couple that a bunch of other people have, but you have a number of, like, a couple of first-time movies in there that I haven't seen on the list. Nice list, dude. I like it. All right. Evelyn Quiros. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. Forgive me. Took a little vacation. I'm catching up to the shows I miss. In days like this, I appreciate the work you guys do. By the way, the binge is starting right now. Well, it's good to have you back, Evelyn. Thank you for that. It always amazes me how great the community here is, how great it is. There are people literally watch every day, and we get to have these conversations, and I get to get these great questions from you guys. I get to give my opinions on it, and we just get to talk movies all day. And it's great, and I love it. So thank you so much for that, Evelyn. Welcome back, and I hope you get caught up on the binge session. All right, Evelyn follows up with her top 10, which is Back to the Future, Dark Knight, Black Panther, A Quiet Place. I love that movie. Mad Max Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road, Forrest Gump, that's one of my wife's all-time favorites, Coco, love that film, Titanic, Devil Wears Prada, Silver Linings Playbook. You know what? I don't know why, but when Silver Linings Playbook got nominated for Best Picture and a lot of other major awards, it wasn't received warmly. But you know what? It's a effing great movie. It's a great movie. And I don't know why it doesn't get more kudos than it does. And honestly, I think you're the first person to mention Silver Linings in your top 10 list. I could be wrong about that, but I think you're the first. I don't know why it doesn't get mentioned more often. It is an effing great movie. It's fantastic. And you may be a little tired of, I don't know, maybe you're tired of Jennifer Lawrence, or maybe you're tired of Bradley Cooper. I don't know. But all that aside, it's a freaking great movie. It's smart, it's well written, it's beautifully acted. It's just a great, compelling story. I like it a lot. So I'm glad you got it on your list there. All right. Matthew D. Fritas writes, why isn't We Bought a Zoo a more cherished film? Are we talking about the Matt Damon one? Let me just hold a second. I think you're talking about, and I think John Krasinski's in that too. Let me just bring it up here because I just want to make sure I'm thinking of the right movie, because I think I am. Oh yeah, and Scarlett Johansson's in there too. Yeah, so it's Matt Damon, Scarlett Johansson, Thomas Hayden Church, Colin Ford. Yeah, it's a solid cast. JB Smoove was in that. I totally forgot about that. Anyway, Elle Fanning. I like that movie. I don't know. It's not one. I think I might have watched it twice, as a matter of fact. I think I saw it once in theater, and then I think I watched it once at home. But I don't think I've seen it again since 2012. I think it probably just doesn't get talked about that much because it's a solid movie. It's a good little movie, but not one that we think about often. Not one. It's not one. there are meh movies, and then there are good movies, and then there are great movies, and then there's like, okay, like in the Oscar conversation movies, right? So then you got meh, and you got not so good, really bad, utter garbage. So you got meh right in the middle of the row. There's meh. And you got 3 levels above meh, 3 levels below meh. And I believe We Bought a Zoo is in that level above meh. It's good. It's a good movie. But, some people completely adore it. Like clearly you must, Matthew, wondering why we don't talk about it more. But I don't think it's good enough. I think it's good, and I would recommend people watch it, but I don't personally think it was good enough that it'd be like, oh, we got to talk about this. At least once every couple of months, this movie should be brought up. You know what I mean? It may be there for you and some other people, but just to be honest, it's not there for me. So that's probably why I think not more people talk about it. It's a good movie. It's solid. I like it. All right. Raj Nikan writes, Kanth writes, saw Chasing Amy for the first time. I'm 26, blew my mind. Dude, Clerks 2 holds a very, very special place in my heart. And I've talked a little bit and told the story about why Clerks 2 is so special to me. Aside from Clerks 2, putting Clerks 2 aside for a second, Chasing Amy is probably Kevin Smith's best movie. I mean, my favorite and most special to me is Clerks 2, but that aside, probably his best movie is Chasing Amy. And you know what? It's funny that you mentioned you just watched it now, but that is a movie that holds up because, damn it, how old is Chasing Amy now? Hold on a second. Let's see. Chasing Amy. 97. That movie is 22 years old. Wrap your head around that. That movie is 22 years old. That's incredible. Jason Lee, Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck, Joey Lauren Adams, who was amazing in that. I love Joey Lauren Adams. She's just amazing to me. That movie is 22 years old now. I cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. 22 years old. Anyway, that's going to shake me for a while. It's a brilliant film. I'm glad you had a chance to watch it, man. I still think today it's an incredibly smart film, and I believe it still holds up. All right. JCAM writes, Knott's Berry Farm, underappreciated park. Agree? You know what? Never been. Even though I've got one in the general vicinity of where I live, I've never been to a Knott's Berry Farm. Ann keeps telling me, like Ann and Ryan and Ray, they've been to it, and they keep saying, oh, we used to go to that when we were younger. But I've never been. I probably should at some point. I probably should go out there at some point, but I've never been, so I can't say whether it's underrated or not. But now you've really put the fire under me that maybe I should go out and check it out. AFC writes, I meant best color lightsaber from Galaxy's Edge. I can't remember what the original question was, IFC. But just so you know, I've gone to Galaxy's Edge now 4 or 5 times. Ann and I specifically bought Disney annual passes so we can go back to Galaxy's Edge and the rest of Disneyland and California Adventureland, all that kind of stuff, as often as we want. Actually, my favorite ride at Disneyland is still the Indiana Jones ride. Anyway, but out of all times I've gone, I've never gone in to build my own lightsaber. I just cannot bring myself to spend $200 on building a lightsaber. And again, it goes back to the same little bit of a problem that I have with Hot Toys. I don't have anywhere to put it or to put it on display. If I'm going to spend $200 on a lightsaber, I want it displayed prominently, but I don't know where to put it. Anne wants to build one though. I think she's going to build one next time we go. All right. Todd S writes, I mentioned Robin Hood and you said you didn't like it. It's true. Watch the extended version. I feel like it explains some plot points that seemed off in the original. I'll be honest with you, Todd, I'll be straight up. I'll shoot you straight. I have no intention of watching that movie again. It's just not a good movie to me. Now that doesn't mean that nobody else should think it's a good movie, but I have never seen an extended cut that completely changes. We were just talking about that, right? Kingdom of Heaven, Batman versus Superman. I've never seen one that completely changes the movie. And it wasn't just, a few little plot points here and there. I just thought it was a poorly paced, poorly conceived, badly executed film. Now, that doesn't mean that you're wrong to like it or that anybody else is wrong to like it. Not at all. But that's just how it hit me. And so I have no desire to waste 2 more hours of my life to watch a movie that I already know I don't like. So I'm probably not going to do that, Todd, but I appreciate the heads up. And you know what, Todd? I bet you're not alone. I bet you there are other people who saw the extended edition and feel differently about it. And that's awesome. I celebrate that, but it's just not for me. That's all. All right. Uncharted Halo writes, 1 of 2. Hey, John. It seems like your generation had to wait a long time to see your comic books done right in film. I am 24 years old. My generation will probably have to wait until we are just about your age, if not a little older, to see our video game movies adapted well to film. And you know what? Here's the thing. I said this the other day, and I completely believe it, and I still stand by it. I think one of the things that it took movie studios and filmmakers so long to figure out with comic book movies was our first priority should not be to the comic book. That sounds weird to say, but it's true. Our first priority should not be to the comic book. Our first priority should not be to make a movie that's just like a comic book, because they did that for a long time, and with a couple of exceptions, a lot of them are terrible. It took an evolution to happen where filmmakers started to realize, you know what? Maybe our first priority should be to making a good movie. And that's priority number one. So whenever there's an issue of staying true to the comic book is in conflict with doing something that will make the movie better, making the movie better should win out. And they do that. That's why people don't like to admit this, but like some of the best comic book movies today are almost nothing like the comic books they come from. You know, I still contend X-Men Days of Future Past is one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. In the top 10 easy. That movie is magnificent. Nothing like the comic book version of X-Men Days of Future Past. Civil War, Captain America Civil War. Nothing. Well, I'm not going to say nothing like it, but much liberties taken with the movie as opposed to the comic book, and so on and so forth, because filmmakers and studios realized, and it took time and it took an evolution to realize, you know what, we should approach these movies like we do with any other movie that we take seriously. The movie comes first. What makes this the better movie? Not what makes it more accurate to the comic, because comic is a printed page. It's a different medium. Just because something works on a printed page in a comic book or in a novel or whatever doesn't mean that that's what will work on the big screen. They're two different mediums. And it took studios some time to figure out we need to adapt. And we need to approach making these movies not like some gimmick. Oh, isn't that cute? We're making a movie based on a comic book. No. Studios needed to evolve to the point where they realized, let's approach these comic book movies like we do with any other movie, where the first priority is given to make the best movie possible. And let's take it seriously. Maybe it'll be fun action films, but let's be serious about making a fun action film. Instead of just not taking them serious, whatever, it's just a little comic book movie, whatever. And now we're living in a golden age of comic book movies. You know, X-Men came out, the first X-Men came out. And it was like, holy crap, look what happens when they just focus on making a good movie. You can do some really cool crap. And I think my theory right now is studios and filmmakers are still at the beginning stages of that, trying to figure out how do we do that with video game movies. Because up till now, I think most video game movies have been like, well, let's try to really, let's be true to the video game first. And even when it's not like the video game, you can still tell, let's make it video game-ish and all that kind of stuff. And they fall because they don't take the movie seriously and say, let's be serious about making the best movie possible. Put the video game stuff, even though it's based on a game, make that a secondary consideration. Let's focus on making a great story. 3 acts, beginning, middle, and end. Let's tell a great story. Let's have compelling characters. Let's have sharp dialogue. Let's take time in our development of it. And let's make our first priority making a good movie. Forget that it's based on a video game. Just forget it. Let's just make the best movie we can. That's what the comic book genre did. And that's why it's the most dominant force in the world right now. And I think eventually the studios and filmmakers are going to have to come to that evolution with video game movies as well. And then maybe we'll get our golden age of video game movies. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Jake Iyer writes, top 10 movies in no particular order. Number 10, Rubber. Why? No reason. Is that the Robin Williams one? Hold on a second. I'm not totally sure. Hold on a second. Oh no, that's the one about the killer tires. Oh my God, I totally forgot. You know, I still remember. I can't remember if it was still the Movie Blog Uncut or if we were doing AMC yet, or if we were doing for your consideration at that time. I just can't remember. But I remember doing a story on Rubber. I never saw it. I don't think I saw it. But I just remember going, oh my God, it's a movie about killer tires. I couldn't believe it. So why not, man? Thanks for putting that one back on my radar. Number 9, Jurassic Park. Number 8, Goodfellas. Number 7, Goldfinger. Number 6, Taxi Driver. Nice. Number 5, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Number 4, Gattaca. Number 3, Hudson Hawk. First time Hudson Hawk's appeared on there. First time Hudson Hawk. And number 1, Layer Cake, the Matthew Vaughn film. James Bond, Daniel Craig starring it. That's a nice little movie. I like Layer Cake. Well done, sir. And I think that is definitely the first time I think Layer Cake and Hudson Hawk have appeared on any of the lists. Nice list, Jake. I appreciate that. Rubber. Oh my God. Why'd you put that one back in my mind? All right. Uncharted Halo writes, 1 of 2. I do believe video game films can be like comic book movie genre in the future. Millions of kids grow up with game franchises and characters, and it becomes iconic for us. Game stories go on in perpetuity, kind of like superhero comics. People get invested in these universes and stories. Box office revenue can be driven by all this. No, it can't. Box office gets driven by quality movies. That's what it is. Because here's the thing, Uncharted. If box office was driven by all the stuff you just talked about, then the video game movies would already be the biggest blockbusters in the world. We've had like 50 video game movies. You know what? That's not an exaggeration. Hold a second. Let me look up a list of video game movies, because I believe it's probably close to 50 that we're on right now. So here, you know what? It might not be 50. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. 40. Okay, so we've had 40 video game movies. If, box office revenue can be driven by the fact that people grow up playing video games and they're invested in their video games and all that kind of stuff. If that was going to drive box office, it would be doing it already, right? We'd be seeing it already. There have been tons of video game movies, tons of them. And we don't see that sort of thing. What drives it is quality. Quality drives it. Crappy video games don't make money. Quality video games drive money. For movies, just because you base it on a popular IP don't mean squat. Doesn't mean anybody's going to go watch it. How many people love Power Rangers? How many people went to go see the Power Rangers movie? Not many. A lot of people love Power Rangers. Not many people went to see the movie. Ironically enough, I actually like the new Power Rangers movie, but that's just me. It's going to take studios and filmmakers to go, we need to do what we did with comic book movies. Take the principle, like the base it off that comic book, but give priority over that the mission of making a good film, and take it seriously and be focused on making a great movie, not a great comic book movie, focus on making a great movie. And I think they need to get to that in the video games as well. Once they do, then we're going to start to see revenue being driven by that. Unfortunately, we're not seeing revenue being driven by it yet, right? We would have seen it already. But we need to see some quality in these things, and hopefully we'll get there. I think we will. It took comic book movies a while, maybe not 40 movies to get there, but it took comic book movies a while. I think they'll get there with the video game stuff as well. All right, Gabriel Reed writes, I need help, John. All right, let me see. Dr. John is in the house. Let me see what I can do. My friend loved It Chapter 2. Nice. I told her it didn't work for me. Didn't work for me either. And her response was, read the book. But I shouldn't have to. It's an adaptation for a reason. How do I explain this? It's really, what I've always said is this. If to enjoy a movie, it is required that you watch or read or play something else first, then you did a fuck poor job of making your movie. That's always been my philosophy. I remember this came up a lot back with Matrix. And I think, some people say, Matrix 3, a lot of people hated it, but then like Animatrix came out and a lot of people said, oh, No, you got to watch. See, once you watch Animatrix, then the Matrix 3 makes sense. And my whole theory at that time was, nah, if I need to watch something else in order to enjoy a movie, then the people who made the movie did a piss poor job. Then they botched it. That's the thing about the movies. You should be able to go into a movie, sit down, and you've got 2+ hours to tell your story. And that's why good movies are challenging. See, some people think making TV shows, I'm telling you, making TV shows is easier because you got all the time in the world, right? You got all the time in the world. In a movie, you got two hours. You got 2 hours in a movie to introduce it, let us know who the characters are, set up what the story is, get into the main meat of the story, start the resolution to it, and then climax it and finish the film. You got 2 hours to do all of that. Whereas in television, which I love good TV, don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing TV, I'm just saying in television, like my second or third favorite television show of all time, Spartacus, that Aaron Cummings is one of the stars of. If it was a movie, it would be crap because the first 3 episodes of Spartacus are some of the worst television I've ever watched. Like seriously, some of the worst television I've ever watched. But, you don't have to worry about just having 1 or 2 episodes. You can do this really slow burning, just really set it up. But in a movie, you got 2 hours. You got to do it all in 2 hours. That's why I have a lot more respect for film. I totally respect good television makers. Don't get me wrong. And showrunners, it's a tough job. It's tougher than what I do. It's absolutely fantastic and all that's great. But I have even, as high as my respect is for them, it's even higher for people who make film because you got to do all that in just 2 hours. You don't have the luxury of having a couple of, well, yeah, those couple episodes aren't so great, but I got to lay some groundwork there. We'll get to the good stuff later. You don't have that luxury in a movie. You got 2 hours, maybe 2.5, maybe just 90 minutes to do it all. And I really respect that. I really respect it. So anyway, that's why to me, the whole thing is, yeah, look, if I need to go and watch some sort of supporting material in order to make watching the movie an enjoyable experience, then you did a very bad job making the movie. You got to make the movie so an audience member can come in and sit down and get it and understand it and get attached to it and enjoy it. And you got 2 hours to do it. If they're required to go out and take in supplementary content in order to enjoy your movie, then you don't know how to make a movie. That's kind of my feeling on that, Gabriel. So maybe say it more politely to your friend than I just said it. But yeah, that's my take on it. Gabriel Reed also writes, when you say you don't like a movie, why can't you hear, oh, that's too bad? Instead you get, you don't understand the book. Absolutely, it's irrelevant. And to me, by the way, that's one of the most frustrating, irritating, and pointless things, terrible excuses that people make when somebody doesn't like a movie that they like. You just didn't understand it. No, I understood it, and it just wasn't good to me. You just don't get it. You didn't get it. No, I got it. And I just didn't find it good. And that's okay. It's cool that you got it and liked it. And it's cool that I got it and didn't like it. Let's just be cool with it. Somebody comes up and says, man, I watched the original Star Wars and I didn't like it. And that happens sometimes. I get people come up to me and they say, whether it's online or in person, say, man, I watched the original Star Wars for the first time and, it didn't do it for me. What am I going to do? Well, you need to go back and watch it again. You need to watch it again. You need to improve you better check your attitude, buddy. You need to watch it again and make sure you get it this time. No. Say, oh man, that sucks. I love Star Wars. It's like the most influential film in the world to me. I love Star Wars. It shaped my life. I love the original Star Wars. But you didn't. Okay. That doesn't change. See, here's the problem. This is the problem with all film fans, and we're all subject to this. Me included. We're all subject in this. We get so attached to our opinions that we feel that when somebody doesn't agree with our opinion, we so associate with our own opinions that we take that as an attack against us. Like, oh my God. I remember I talked when The Dark Knight came out, Dark Knight Rises came out. I talked about a couple of issues I had with The Dark Knight Rises. But it just, instead of like, oh, there's a dude we know and he didn't like the same movie we liked. Oh, well, like people lost their minds. Like, how dare you? How dare you not like this movie? It's like, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It's okay. But when you say you don't like a movie that somebody else likes, they take that as a personal attack on them. Like, look, I love the original Star Wars. But if you don't, that's cool. That doesn't affect me. That doesn't diminish my love for Star Wars. It's all good. Now, like, if you don't like The Golden Child, like we've been talking about Eddie Murphy lately, right? And The Golden Child's come up. And, you know, I say, if you say, I say I like The Golden Child. If you say, well, I didn't like The Golden Child, that's cool. Now, if you say to me, I didn't like The Golden Child, too many movies these days with them black guys leading it. Don't like the movie with them black guys in. Okay, well then you and I are going to have a different kind of problem. But if you didn't like Golden Child, so much for it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't diminish the fact that I did. And it doesn't deteriorate or take away or undermine my opinion. So you're right, Gabriel. You got to have that talk with your friend. You got to have that talk with your friend. All right. Next up, Lewis Dotson writes. Where are we at? There he is. Top 5 TV shows of all time. Number 1, 24. Number 2, Lost. See, the thing about 24, I loved the first season. I thought it was never able to recapture the magic of the first season. I actually found the show to get progressively worse. But that's just me. But I loved that first season. Bonkers. And the ending with the wife. Oh, are you kidding me? Anyway, 2, Lost. 3, Person of Interest. I never really did get into Person of Interest. So many people love that show. 4, The Magicians. Never watched it. 5, Fringe. Love Fringe. By the way, the girl from Fringe is now the lead girl on Mindhunter. And she's great in Mindhunter. Anyway, honorable mention, Sons of Anarchy. That's in my top 3. Minus the ending. I even like the ending. I mean, here's the thing. The ending of Sons of Anarchy. If you knew the show, you knew there was no other way that show could end. That's how that show had to end. It's the way it was always going to end. And a lot of people were uncomfortable with it because it wasn't a happy ending. But, I mean, at least not in total. It wasn't in total a happy ending. But, and I'm not going to give the ending away just in case some of you haven't watched the show yet. But if you were watching the show and paying attention to the show, like I remember it is, other than Ronald Moore's Battlestar Galactica, it is probably Sons of Anarchy is probably my favorite show of all time. Or at least neck and neck with Spartacus. But you always knew that's the way that show had to end. And when you really think about it, there was no other way for that show to end. It was going to end that way. Right from the beginning, that's the way that show was going to end. And you could just know that, but it's not your stereotypical happy ending, so it doesn't work for everybody. And I get that. Not everything is for everybody, and that's cool. But yeah, but I'm glad you like it, man. It's good to see Fringe listed there as well. All right, Gabriel Reed writes, oh, before I forget, I gave all my dead batteries oh. It's been a thing lately. People have been sending in the jokes. I gave, for those of you listening, for those of you Patreon supporters who are listening to the audio-only podcast, it writes, I gave all my dead batteries away today, free of charge. Ba-bum-bum. Well said, Gabriel. Actually, that's kind of cute. All right, Kyle Masiero writes, top 8, Taxi Driver, Lawrence of Arabia, nice, Citizen Kane, Godfather, Rosemary's Baby, Wings of Desire. That one hasn't been listed yet. It's a Wonderful Life, beautiful. And 2001 Space Odyssey. You know what? Actually, both of those final 2. These are like all-time best movies, like all-time great movies. And it never ceases to amaze me how many people have still not watched them. Don't get me wrong. You don't have to turn in your movie fan card if you haven't seen these. No, not at all. But you owe it to yourself, I think, to see these movies. I'm glad to see that. And Wonderful Life is beautiful. I could watch that movie every year. I probably watch it about once every 2 years. I love that movie. It's, to this day, it's so freaking special. I love it. And 2001 Space Odyssey, I mean, obviously. Brian Clark writes, Jesus Christ, Powell could be a effing bartender for all we know. Oh, I see it. It's a cop saying it. Hold on a second. I see it in my head. It's a cop saying it. And it's that guy. It's that dude who's in so many things in the 80s. I'm lost. I'm stuck. Sorry. Got to move on. All right. Next one. Die Hard. Die Hard. I think that's Die Hard. I'm probably wrong, but I think that's Die Hard. Okay. Tom Wyenberg writes, just got Disney Plus. It's already available here in the Netherlands. Yeah, we talked about that this morning. And free until November 12th. Seems really nice to use so far. Again, so Disney Plus is now up and running, but none of the originals. Like it's just library content they got on there right now. And it's just running right now as kind of a test run in the Netherlands for free until November 12th. That's when the service actually goes live. That's when a couple of the original shows will start to air, like Mandalorian, the original movie, the remake of Lady and the Tramp is going to go up, all that kind of stuff. But lucky ducks, you guys in the Netherlands watching that already, man. Lucky ducks. All right. Dark Monolith Expanse writes, kind of speaking of 2001, top 10, The Matrix. I Saw the Devil. That's the first time that one's been mentioned. Truman Show. I think that might actually be the first time the Truman Show is mentionable too. Unbreakable. The Fly. Old Boy, the original, not the terrible Josh Brolin remake. Casino Royale. Love it. Man of Steel. Again, always makes my heart smile when I see people putting in Man of Steel. Pan's Labyrinth. Fabulous film. And Tombstone. It's funny. We were just talking about Tombstone the other day. Remember this came up the other day. That's a good one. Solid film. And again, always makes my heart smile when you guys putting in there, giving some love to Man of Steel. I love it. All right. Alex writes, have you seen or heard of the movie Loose? Yes, with Naomi Watts and Octavia Spencer. Top 3 film for me this year, and hope it gets Oscar buzz. I have not seen it. I'm familiar with it, but I have not seen it, so I can't say actually. And crap, I'm blanking totally on who directed it. Give me a second here. It is directed by Julius Ona. And the reason that was significant is because Julius Ona, who I've froze on like several times, the reason that's interesting is because he directed a totally awful film that we talked about earlier today called The Cloverfield Paradox. Completely awful, awful film. So there's that. So it's really interesting to hear, hey, just because he did one bad film doesn't mean he's a lost cause. And Cloverfield Paradox was absolutely terrible. But just because he did one bad one doesn't mean he's a lost cause. So you got Loose in there, and Naomi Watts, Octavia Spencer, Tim Roth, by the way, who's in there. I love him in Hulk, by the way. I like to call him my co-star. Tim Roth is my co-star in that Hulk film. Anyway, there you go, Alex. All right, Geeky Galore writes, saw Marriage Story at TIFF. It's the best Netflix film I've seen. Surprisingly hilarious. Uncut Gems also slaps. Adam Sandler and Kevin Garnett are great. Marriage Story is one that's getting a lot of buzz. And actually, I've had studio people talk to me about Marriage Story. We actually, on the John Campea Show earlier today, we put in like what we believe so many months out are our lock picks for what films are going to get the Best Picture nomination come the next Oscars. And I was tempted because of the confidence and the buzz I've been hearing come from the studio about Marriage Story is one of them. That is the one with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. Well, let me make sure that's the one we're talking about, because I believe that's the one we're talking about. Hold on a second. And it is. Okay, so basically it's about this creative producer and his marriage that's falling apart to an actress and all this kind of stuff. And it's about their relationship as it falls apart. And I've been hearing a lot of, oh yeah, Laura Dern's in that too, Ray Liotta. Anyway, it's getting a lot of love right now. And I was tempted to put it on my list. Ultimately, I couldn't put it on. There were just too many other things ahead of it, but that is one I'm very much looking forward to watching, Geek Galore. I'm glad you had a chance to see it. Okay. Film Chris writes, love your Best Picture picks. Thank you, man. Personally, I would also consider putting Motherless Brooklyn. That's one. It's also my fellow co-star in the Hulk film, Edward Norton is in that. And it looks really, we watched a big preview for that when we were at CinemaCon back in April. And it looks, but it also looks like it could go either way for me, so I'm not really sure. But anyway, I would also consider Motherless Brooklyn, The Lighthouse. I don't know that that's going to resonate with enough people. That's the thing about Lighthouse. I'm fascinated in seeing The Lighthouse. I don't know if it's going to resonate with enough people to get an Oscar nom, but we'll see. And excited to see Ed Norton back. Yeah, I'm excited to see him back too. That dude is just too talented. Like, I understand behind the scenes, he's a bit of a pain in the ass to deal with, so I've been told. All I know is I've met him and talked to him. Super nice to me, but I mean, I'm not there all the time, so who knows? But he's just simply too talented of a dude not to be in more movies. So it's good to see him come back. All right. Prod Egalson writes, what are your thoughts on the Harriet trailer? Haven't seen it. Have not watched the Harriet trailer, so that might come up. You know what? Let me just look it up right now here. I'm obviously not going to sit here and watch the Harriet trailer as we're doing it. Yeah, I haven't watched the trailer yet, so I've got no opinion on it. But thank you for putting it on my radar, though. I appreciate that. Darth Sidious writes, hey, Chris and Aaron, have you ever heard of an animated show called, Darth, you keep asking this question, of Galactic Football? You can watch it on YouTube. Again, if you want a question that's specifically for Aaron or Chris when they're on, or Rob, you got to make sure the question comes in early because they only stick around for an hour and a half, then they have other things to do. So just a little history. Darth Sidious asked me that question. I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen it myself. So then he wrote it in again when Rob was on, and Rob hasn't seen it. So now he's writing it again and asking Aaron and Chris. But again, you got to get a little bit more earlier than that, Darth. But I still have not seen it. I at this point, I still haven't seen it. Dan Allen writes, what about Harriet, The Lighthouse, Parasite, and Two Pups? Well, it's obviously, I haven't seen the Harriet trailer, so I have no idea. Parasite was one we did bring up this morning. Remember, after we did our list, one of the things I said was Junho Gong, I think, anyway, or Bong, anyway, his film Parasite getting a lot of love out of the festival circuit. I still didn't see it. I still haven't seen it, but it is getting a lot of buzz. And you know, every once in a while, and this is what I said on the show this morning, this is why you got to keep your eye on Parasite, because every once in a while, the Oscars, they seem to like to slip in one of these foreign films, like a really celebrated foreign film, into the Best Picture race. So that's one you can't count out. Don't count out Parasite. Absolutely not. And again, Lighthouse, I just think it might be a little bit divisive because it looks weird. I mean, I'm fascinated, but I cannot wait to watch Lighthouse, but it does look weird. And I think because of that, it's going to be a little divisive. I don't know if it'll have enough broad support to get into the race. We'll have to wait and see. And I still haven't seen the Harriet one. Eric Huffman writes, listen to Chris Carr nerd out about Cloverfield. I am now in love. Wasn't that so? For those of you who didn't see it, on the show today, when Cloverfield came up, Chris Carr went on a bit of a positive rant about her love of Cloverfield and why they should absolutely make another Cloverfield movie. It was quite passionate. It was a passionate plea for it, and apparently it made Eric fall in love with just a little bit. Anyway, thanks for that, Eric. Carlos Sosa writes, do you have any questions you want answered in episode 9? No, not really. I'm just going in. I have no pre-existing questions. I just want to go in and see how they're gonna end this thing. I'm just open-minded to it. I just do whatever you want to do. I mean, if I'm being 100% honest, the one question I have is, okay, so what's the deal with Luke? Is he alive? Is he actually dead? Are we going Force Ghost route? So they're obviously going to address that in the movie. That Mark Hamill is back for it, so clearly they're going to address it. But other than that, no. I mean, some people are like, we need to know what the background of Snoke was. I'm saying, we don't need to know what the background of Snoke is. That's irrelevant. You know, I said that whole time. Look, my argument about that was always, when you look at the original Star Wars trilogy, how much did we know about Palpatine? Nothing. We didn't need to know anything about Palpatine. We knew he was big, he was bad, and he was powerful. That's all we needed to know. We didn't know his background story. We didn't know where he came from, and yet he was an awesome villain, and we didn't need to know shit about him, right? And that's why, like, when people talk about, like, The Force Awakens, go, but we need, where did Snoke come from? We need these answers. Like, we didn't need them for Palpatine. We didn't need them for the Emperor. We were perfectly fine. Now, they decided to address those questions when the prequels came out, but who cares? Like, when the Star Wars original trilogy came out, we weren't going, well, we don't know where the Emperor came from. What's his background? So we didn't need to know. And I felt the same way about Snoke. All we needed to know about Snoke was he was big, he was bad, and he was powerful. That's all we needed to know. That's all we needed to know about Palpatine too. So honestly, the only question I have is, how are you incorporating Luke into this at this level? But that's what they're obviously going to address. Other than that, nope. I want to go in with a totally open mind. I find we as film fans, and I'm guilty of this too from time to time, we as film fans are often guilty of going in expecting them to deliver a movie we've already conducted in our heads. And if you don't give us the movie we've already conducted in our heads that formulates and forms to our theories and stuff like that, then we're going to be unhappy. And I really want to avoid that. So I've got no questions. I got no expectations, nothing. I just want to go into The Rise of Skywalker and just enjoy it for what it is. Hopefully I will. But and hopefully most people will. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. All right. Insane Murdoch writes, Knives Out is currently 100% fresh. Yep. Now, don't expect it to stay there, because it's got like around 40. As a matter of fact, let me go over and take a peek at that right now, okay? Knives Out, Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see if it's still holding at 100% right now. Okay, about 7 more reviews have been added since I checked this morning, and it's still sitting at 100%. But understand this, it's not going to stay at 100%. All right. Because there are 43 reviews. So 43 of the verified critics have seen the film now, and every single one of them is positive. Great. That's wonderful. I'm excited for this movie. I can't wait to see it. But there are still 300 more to come. And the law of averages and the subjectivity of film dictates that not all 300 of the ones still to come are going to like it too. Someone's not going to like it. But regardless, that's a great start. 43 reviews in at 100%. It's a great start. All right, Timothy Platt writes, I love having an October birthday. Always great things to watch. It's true. This year is especially awesome. We talked about that on the show this morning too. This October is great. Joker, Gemini Man looks great. Jexy looks kind of fun. I mean, we went through the big list this morning about all these really good looking films coming out in October. Hell, I'm not a fan of Maleficent. I did not like the first Maleficent film. I thought they dropped the ball on that. Angelina Jolie was great, but the movie is not good. But even I think this new one looks pretty good. If it is or isn't, we'll find out soon enough. But it's a lot of good movies lined up, man. So hopefully on your birthday, Timothy, you're going to have a chance to watch one of these great movies. All right. Philip Carbon writes, your opinion on Smallville comic book series. Never read it. Don't care about it. Really don't. I like Smallville, the series, but I never read the comic book series. Lone Wolf X6 writes, top 11, Dodgeball. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Oh, God, I love that movie. Easily one of my top 10 favorite comedies. Inception, Birdman, Whiplash, X-Men, Days of Future Past, Nightcrawler, great Jake Gyllenhaal one, maybe his best performance. Logan, yes. Get Out, love it. Dark Knight, Toy Story, Battle Royale. No one's mentioned Battle Royale yet. Clearly, like if you've not heard of Battle Royale, it's not a Hollywood film. It's an Asian film, and it is basically the basis of what Hunger Games is. Like Hunger Games was clearly influenced by Battle Royale. Only Battle Royale's better. That's not putting down Hunger Games. I like the first couple of Hunger Games movies. I didn't like the last one, but I liked the first couple. I did. But Battle Royale, bunch of school children are taken, and it's Battle Royale. They got to fight to the death till the last one is alive. It's intense. It's crazy, but it's awesome. You got to watch Battle Royale. Take Lone Wolf X6's advice there and go watch Battle Royale. Tom Weinberg writes, Lois and Clark first aired 26 years ago today. That is nuts. I grew up on this. It made me a Superman fan. Kane and Hatcher are still my favorite Lois and Clark, which I'm sure then you got a big kick. And I got to admit, I did. I hate that Supergirl show, but I got to admit, during its pilot, having Dean Cain play a role in it, that was pretty special. That was pretty. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I watched the Lois and Clark show. I didn't. I saw a few episodes. I didn't watch the show. So I'm not going to pretend there, but just knowing the history of it, seeing him pop up in Supergirl was pretty nice. And I can only assume that if you have a lot of fond memories of that show, that was probably extra nice for you seeing him pop up in that show too. I thought that was pretty cool. All right. Work in Progress writes, I like that username. Hi everyone. Love the movie Crawl. How about you? It's funny. Somebody asked me about that exact same question about a week ago. We brought up Crawl. I used to love that movie as a kid. I even used to make my own versions. I would figure out a way using tinfoil and, unwrapped coat hanger wire and try to make my own blade, with the and I would throw them and all that kind of stuff. I got a big kick out of the movie. I loved that movie when I was a kid. Lone Wolf X6 writes, bonus film for me is accepted. Is that the Long film? Is that the Justin Long film? Let me look it up here. Hold on a second. I think that's the Justin Long film. It is. Justin Long, Jonah Hill. That's right. I like that film too. Oh my God. Look how young Justin Long looks. That is crazy. It was not a beloved film. No, sir. Not even a little bit. Was it a beloved film? But you know what's funny? There were two guys in my movie blog era. Two guys that I said, these two guys, years from now, are going to be major, major Hollywood stars. One of them was James Franco. I saw him in the first Spider-Man, and obviously he was a supporting character, but I said, this dude is great. I mean, you watch James Franco in that first Spider-Man movie, he really delivers a lot. And we don't talk about James Franco, but he gives a terrific, and I watched and I thought, you can just see he's got it. He's going to be a major star. And sure enough, he was. On the flip side of that, there's Justin Long, who I adore. I adore Justin Long. Ever since he was the kid on the radio at home in Galaxy Quest, walking the crew through what they have to do because they have all the specs from the TV show Ship and all that kind of stuff. I loved him in that. Then he starred in one of my favorite horror films, Jeepers Creepers. Loved him in that. I loved him in Long Distance. The one he did with Drew Barrymore where they were in a long distance. I loved him in that. I love Justin Long, even when he popped up in New Girl. I think this dude is one of the most likable, just got some of the greatest on-screen just charm. He's so charming, and I just dig this dude. I think he's got fantastic comedic timing. I just think he's top-notch. I am unabashedly a big Justin Long fan. But he was the other guy that I said, a few years from now, he will be a big, big, major A-list Hollywood star. That one didn't work out like the James Franco one did. But to this day, I will always be interested in anything that Justin Long's in. I just think the dude's too funny. I just think he's too funny. Anyway, Travis Yakachonis writes, favorite performance, Daniel Day-Lewis in Gangs of New York. Hey, look, we talked a little bit earlier today that I think one of the greatest performances of all time, is Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. But you can't throw away his performance as Bill the Butcher in Gangs of New York, right? Now, I think he's even better, but that's the thing. To me, it's not even debatable. Daniel Day-Lewis is the GOAT. He is absolutely, it's all up to your personal preference, it is, but from my point of view, it is beyond question. It is beyond dispute. Daniel Day-Lewis is easily head and shoulders miles above everybody else. He is the greatest of all time. I mean, when we got to sit here and debate which one of his performances is not just his greatest performance, but the greatest performance of all time, and the multiple choice are all Daniel Day-Lewis performances. Last of the Mohicans, My Left Foot, Abraham Lincoln, or Lincoln at playing Abraham Lincoln. I mean, he is the greatest that's ever done it. And I loved him as Bill the Butcher in that. But for me, it's still as Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood. All right, Ben Rayner writes, that episode of Barry Season 2 with the martial arts daughter reminded me of X-23 Laura from Logan. Am I alone in that? Well, no, there's a little bit of that. There's clearly a little bit of that in that character. And that episode, we talked about it on the show this morning, that episode of Barry Season 2, one of the purely most enjoyable episodes of comedy television ever. Now, I don't even think Barry Season 2 was as good as Barry Season 1, but man, that episode on its own, stupid good. Just so funny. If you haven't seen it, look it up. And even if you don't know anything about the show, even if you know nothing about Barry, I think if you just go and watch that one episode, you will probably have a hell of a good time. Anyway, there's that. All right. Mike Hill writes, and these are the last two questions of the day, guys, and then we're all cut up. Mike Hill writes, my top 10. Number 1, Man of Steel. God bless your heart, my friend. Number 2, Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies. Number 3, Avengers 1. By the way, no one's mentioned the Hobbit films. Good on you for putting that in there. Not my favorites, but I like the Hobbit movies. Totally a downgrade from Lord of the Rings. I don't deny that, but I like the Hobbit movies. Anyway, Avengers, the first one. Number 4, Superman, 2, Lord of the Rings, 3, Avengers, 4, Superman 3? Like the one with Richard Pryor? Really? Dude, therein lies the subjectivity of film. If that Superman movie, which I believe is the one with Richard Pryor, where he's drunk Superman, kryptonite. Wow, I think that movie's terrible. But that's the beautiful thing about film, man. I can think one movie's terrible, another person can think it's awesome and one of their favorites. That's the beautiful thing about movies, man. So Superman 3, you wear that with pride. All right, Infinity War, Braveheart, Gladiator, Fast 5, or as Robert Meyer Burnett calls it, the Citizen Kane of the Fast and Furious franchise, Fast 5, Dragonheart, that's the first time Dragonheart's popped on the list, and Enter the Dragon. Nice mix in there, Mike. Again, Superman 3. I never expected to see that. And I'm going to guess we probably won't see it on any more lists, but I'm glad you liked it. Oh, but then you follow up, I see. Okay, Mike then follows up and writes, oops, I meant Superman 2, which is, of course, the one with Zod. I meant Superman 2, not 3. Okay. I was like, Superman 3, huh? Well, there you go. Subjectivity of film. I was confused, but hey, you know what? Some people out there are going to love that movie, and if you do, that's great. But you follow, okay, Superman 2. That makes a little more sense to me. So thank you for following up. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for this installment of the companion videos. We are now all caught up on all the leftover questions. Don't forget, guys, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. Me, Robert Meyer Burnett will be here. I hope you'll be here to join us as well as we continue to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and all sorts of good stuff like that. Hey, guys, that'll do it for now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sending in the questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but when you send in those super chat questions, you're also supporting the channel and helping keep these shows on the air. So thank you very much for that. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.